Hello, I'm Anthony from strongmencoaching.com. And hey, let's get right into it. I've been coaching men for over or close to 8 years and helping them in a number of different ways and to improve their life, developing skills, resilience, and really going after their dreams and goals. And as you know, in latest technology, or not necessarily latest technology, but technology that's really available to everyone, Chat GPT. And I want to share with you how you can use ChatGPT in helping you to really be perhaps your own assistant, your own coach, and helping you in accomplishing whatever it is that you would like. But I want to share with you some very specific things that will help you utilize this tool very effectively. So let's get started. So I am using the paid version of ChatGPT. Now, oftentimes what happens is people will go on to ChatGPT and just start typing away. And that's not what you want to do. You really want to not only give it instructions, but you also want to give it a persona, but in addition, you want to give it some information about you, specifically about you. When I'm coaching men, I get to know them because on a personal level, because every person has their own beliefs, their own situations, their own resources. I mean, it's everything, right? No one is the same. So, what you want to do is give it some instructions. And I want to share with you those specific instructions here. So, let's say, for example, this is just a complete example, right? Let's say, for example, you want to lose weight. Okay. Now, oftentimes people will go on to ChatGPT and just start typing away. Okay. Now, as I just mentioned, you really want to get into the specific instructions. In addition, you also want to be careful the information that you enter. And so I encourage you to speak in the third person. And I'm going to share an example with you right now. So what you want to do is first, um, who do you want ChatGPT to be? And what I mean by that is you could say this: I want you to act as a therapist who has worked with men for over, let's just say, 20 years. Okay, so what does this do? It's telling ChatGPT, I want you to act. I want you to give me information as though you're a therapist who has worked specifically with men, right? Right? Not just anybody, but specifically with men for over 20 years, right? Then you could even go even further and say something, who has worked with men over the age of 50, for example, who have worked with men over the age of 50 for over 20 years. Now, that's just an example. You could put any age, you could put over 20, over 30, or men, let's go, men in their, let's say, 20s, right? Men in their 20s. Or you could say men in their 30s. And the reason why you would want to do this, right, men in their 40s, is because men in their 20s are, they're just starting out in life. Maybe you're that, right? You're 20 years old, and that's great. But men in their 30s are going to be dealing with or going through perhaps different life than someone in their 20s, right? And so forth and so on. Men in their 40s, men in their 50s, so forth and so on. So here you're giving it instructions saying, I want you to act as a therapist. Now, we could even go even deeper to say, I want you to act as a marriage or a marriage um, a marriage therapist or a marriage counselor, right? Let's just say a marriage counselor, marriage, a marriage. say I want you to act as a marriage therapist or a marriage um, um, counselor, a marriage, let's see, a marriage prof- um, psychologist, right? Psychologist, right? A marriage psychologist who has worked with men in their 40s for over 20 years, right? So what this is doing, um, where did I? So what this is doing is you're giving it instructions. You're not just going on to Chat GPT and saying, "Hey, I want to lose weight," or "Give me some examples of this." You're giving it a persona in some that is working with somebody in your particular situation, right? So let's go on. So if you're going to say, I want you to act as a marriage psychologist who has worked with men in their 40s for over 20 years, right? And helping them, right? And helping them to reconnect or rebuild their marriage, right? Something to that effect. Now, I think I started off with my example about losing weight, and we could get into that as well. And what I just shared is the same thing. If you want to be work with get information about your particular area, you would say, "I want you to act as a fitness professional or a fitness and nutritional professional who has worked with men in their 40s for over 20 years and helping them to build muscle and lose weight," right? But you want to give it these instructions. Now, after that, you want to do you want to do a shift enter to scroll down to give it some more information. Because if you just go ahead and hit enter, it'll just go ahead and start working with what you have given it. So let's continue on. Now you're giving it more instructions. So let's say your client, right? You're speaking in the third person. So your client is a man who has been married for 10 years and has two children that are 10 and 6, for example, right? Giving it some information, because here's the thing. Let's say somebody who just got married. The instructions would be different and should be different for someone who's been married for a decade, right? And the information should be different for somebody who has children and different for someone who doesn't have children, right? The recommendations are going to be completely different. So it's best for you to give it some information. Who do you want it to be? Who are you? And use it in a third person, right? And and then here are my goals, right? So you could even go further. Your client is a man who's been married for 10 years and has two children that are 10 and 6, right? Now, what else? This is another thing that's very important is to add here, right? Let's say you are a specific religion or have specific beliefs as it pertains to these important areas where you're going to get different information. Someone who doesn't believe, let's say there's different religions in the world, right? And whatever your religion is or your belief is, it's going to be different. And if you want more, let's say a religious reference, then you're going to want that information, right? So let's say whatever religion you are, there's a lot of different religions, right? You would say, you would put that in here as well. Let's say the client, let's say 10 and 6, the client practices the, let's say, Buddhist religion, right? This is just an example. You would put what you believe in, right? Or the client practices, right? I knew I was going to say that, practices the Buddhist religion. right? And anything else that you think would be important for it for this for you to get a good response for your specific situation for you. But you have to give it these sort of parameters in order for that to happen. So continue on with, you can say, um, or the client dated his wife for 3 years before um, he got married. They had a child right away, right? And this is all very important information because there are couples who didn't have children right away, and they were able to go and do things where they can make reference back to that time, right? Where somebody who might have traveled or have done things where they were able to do when they didn't have children, there might be a response to say something like, hey, go back to where you first went to your honeymoon. Or if it's going to make some sort of suggestions as to, you know, that time you had before you started having children. So this is all very important information because this, once again, you want it to be the best information for you. Now, for people who had children right away, right? Let's say, there was no time to travel. And maybe a suggestion would be go on a trip with your wife without the children or something, to that effect. What was the one thing you wanted to do before you got married but didn't have a chance to do it, sort of thing. And so it's going to have responses that are more towards you than rather than you putting in a certain question in ChatGPT and then just getting this response. Okay. So finally, you want to say something to the effect of, because you mentioned helping them to reconnect and rebuild their marriage, right? So now, but that's what the psychologist or the marriage psychologist um, is capable of doing. So what you want to do now here is the client wants to reignite reignite his relationship with his wife. He is not right. We could say he is not very romantic, um, but would like to be. Right. So you want to share some things about, hey, I'm not the most romantic kind of guy. I'm not the most creative kind of guy. And so you want to share these things because you might then say, right? Remember, shift return so you can get um, keep going and not, because if you just hit return, it's going to answer what you have so far. So the client wants to reignite his relationship, the relationship with his relationship with his wife. He's not very romantic, but would like to be. You know, um, his wife typically loves flowers, date nights, and affection. This is just an example, right? You're going to go once again back to what specifically for you and your situation, right? You're saying who you are, or no, what you want the persona to be for ChatGPT, who you are, and what is it that you want, right? And a little bit of information like I've put right here, right? Wives typically loves flowers, date nights, and affection, you know. And here's the thing: I want you to give me five suggestions on how I can, or how the client can reignite the passion in his marriage. Okay. Um, They are both very open to try new things, um, and um, are open to try new things, um, and let's see, they are both very open to try new things are very are very open spiritually. Let's just spiritually, right? This is just an example. Okay, this is just an example. So you're saying, I want you to give me 5 suggestions on how the client can reignite the passion in his marriage. They're both very open to trying new things, right? Trying new things and very open spiritually, right? Please provide suggestions that cost less than, let's say $100, right? Whatever it might be. So what have we done in this situation here? We have created a persona. Who do you want ChatGPT to act like, to be like? What is your situation as far as, right? You're in your 40s, you're in your 20s, right? It's going to be different for men in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on. For over 20 years, helping them to reconnect or rebuild their marriage, right? Your client, right? Speaking in the third person, your client is a man who's been married for 10 years and has 2 children that are 10 and 6. The client practices the Buddhist religion or practices Buddhism. I could say that. The client dated his wife for 3 years before he got married. They had a child right away. The client wants to reignite his relationship with his wife. He's not very romantic, but would like to be. His wife typically loves flowers, date nights, and affection, right? And then you're giving it instructions. I want you to give me 5 suggestions on how the client can reignite the passion in his marriage. They are both very open to trying new things and very open spiritually. Please provide suggestions that cost less than $100, right? So as you can see, hey, real quick, um, if you are enjoying this instruction, I want to encourage you to click the like button and subscribe. Definitely going to have more great information for you in future videos. So thank you. So now we gave it some instructions. Could we go a little bit more in detail? Yes. But here's some brief information, but I think we're going to get some good responses, right? So now I can hit enter or click on this up button. So let's just see what it says. So here we go. Below are 5 budget-friendly suggestions, each under $100, that can help reignite the passion in your marriage. Each idea taps into the romance, spirituality, and creativity. Do you see where, while being mindful of the Buddhist perspective on presence and connection? So imagine whatever your religion is, it's going to give you suggestions based on that, or that you're open spiritually, or that you're whatever your beliefs might be, whatever you think is important in your life, you want to put it in there because it's going to give you those suggestions, right? So here it's saying budget friendly. You wanted things, maybe you were okay of spending $1,000, right? And then here you want to reignite your passion in your marriage. You gave it instructions like that's the goal. And then here it mentions that each idea, right? Each idea taps into the romance, spirituality, and creativity while being mindful of the Buddhist perspective on presence and connection, right? So here's what it suggested. Okay, create a flower meditation ritual, right? What to do. So these, right? This gives you a $20 to $30 budget. How it helps, right? Homes or host at home date night with a twist, right? Because here you said, or the example said that they are both. Let's see, date nights, right? Where did I write date nights? So let's see. They're both spiritually and provide low cost. Let's see. They're both very trying new things, very spiritual. Please provide. provide suggestions that cost less than $100, right? Okay, here we go. Married 10 years, Buddhist, client dated for 3 years, where the client wants to reignite his marriage. I would want to give 5 suggestions on how the client reignite her. They're both very open to trying new things. Okay, think I I think I just mentioned it. I was like, I thought I wrote something about date night. So here we go. So we got date night. We got plan a memory walk. Like, here's the thing I mentioned before, right? Remember how I mentioned about what to do? Go for a walk in a meaningful place, maybe the spot of your first date or a local park, right? Write a short love letter or note sharing a favorite memory of gratitude for something she's done recently, right? Free coffee, snacks, $20, right? So whatever your religion is or whatever your beliefs are, there's going to make up some ideas specifically for that. Okay. Now, so here it goes. Therapist notes, right? That's also important too, because we mentioned at the very beginning, hey, I want you to act as a marriage psychologist, a marriage therapist. Okay. Down here, it's saying therapist notes, right? As though it was like a therapy session, and the therapist write notes about you, in that it's saying, he's very open spiritually, right? And and so forth and so on. And here it's saying therapist note, being open to spiritually, try weaving mindfulness or short loving kindness practices into each experience. This will heighten the sense of intimacy and emotional presence. Most importantly, remember that even small, consistent acts of caring, like a gentle touch, word of affirmation, or a quick, loving note, can reignite passion over time. So this is almost like reading the therapist's notes. Oftentimes, therapists might write something, just to recall something. You're able to reference the therapist's notes. So I just wanted to share this very important thing, and I'll go into other videos where really talk about coaching and how you can utilize it in your in like almost as your personal coach, right? So one of the things that I want to point out here is that technology is absolutely incredible. But one of the things that it doesn't do is that it doesn't have that personal interaction, right? Where it's somebody who actually takes time to get to know you, really, can see things that that you might not be able to see, but after talking and communicating and connecting, can see where you may not be able to see. And so that's the one thing that ChatGPT is absolutely amazing, will give you some great things. But one of the most powerful things that it doesn't do, that a life coach does, is giving you that support that is necessary in order to take action on these sort of things, right? To improve a marriage, for example, that really takes support in order to make that happen and for it to be consistent. So I'd like to hear your ideas about using ChatGPT as in this way. And if you learned anything, I would love to hear about it. Well, once again, I'm Anthony from strongmencoaching.com. And until next time, stay strong.